Hey there, Internet. R. Felix Finch here, and welcome to another episode of Underground Lucha Things, the Lucha Underground podcast where somebody who has journeyed through many different wrestling promotions but somehow passed this over, finally decides to not pass this over. But you know what? I'm not alone on this journey. Joining me for this Lucha adventure, coming at me from the Isle of Hawaii, the one, the only, Angie FN of Midcard Mana. Angie, how you doing today?
I am good. Thank you again for having me on this lucha journey. I keep wanting to think of different words besides journey and adventure. I'll think of one day.
Don't worry, you're a history teacher, not an English teacher. I'll expect that from Georgia. I won't hold you to that same standard. And I think Phoenix teaches maths, right? I mean, really,
Science.
if we get two more of you guys, we can just like take care of daycare on the next Jericho cruise, right? just
Right?
just have some seaside. You could say you're learning abroad. Who knows? But anyway, let's get on with this. Season 1, episode 33, Death versus the Drago, or Death versus the Dragon, depending on if you're looking at Wikipedia or if you're looking at Tubi. What does Amazon say this episode title is?
I don't remember actually. Let me check. But yeah, it is. I've seen it as a couple of different things as I've like checked on things to refresh my memory. I like to think that it's Death versus the Drago because it's about Drago.
Yeah, but this is from June 24th, 2015. And we're getting a little closer to 5 years. Again, it's still over 5 years ago, if you can believe that. And we're starting off immediately with action. Not a lot of back storytelling. We get a Vampiro interview with Superfly beforehand because it's Sexy Star versus Superfly, and we have a Vampiro interview with Superfly, and Superfly seems upset that Vampiro from getting her arm broken because he wanted her to suffer too. And it does seem like Superfly is still nursing his previously broken arm, but it does go on the offensive against Sexy Star. Sexy is finally able to get a chance to put in some offense against Superfly, though it doesn't seem to last long. Superfly here, even though he's the heel in this, he's not necessarily using underhanded tactics. He's just using increased aggression, which I think is a good change of pace. But there's a spot that hurts my knees watching because Superfly charges Sexy Star and she gives him a big ol' cazadora. He flies out of the ring and lands on his feet, and it looked like he blew both knees out at that point, but he didn't. It was
Both my knees blew out when just watching it. Jeez.
Yeah, man. I thought so. I was like, oh, this is gonna go terribly, and then I'm like, no, wait, this is an edited show. They wouldn't keep an injury in. And Superfly and Superfly though he's able to pull out a victory with a double power bomb on Sexy Star. I was at a double sexy bomb. I'm sure that's someone's tag team maneuver, and if it isn't, feel free to steal that. The sexy bomb, the double sexy bomb, but he hits a double power bomb on Sexy Star, and then Superfly tries to attempt to unmask Sexy Star, but he just settles for shit canning her once she fights back. Angie, how did you feel watching this battle commence?
I was really into their first match that they had, the mask versus mask match, and I wasn't disappointed with this match. I thought it was good. I liked that it gave Superfly a little bit of extra edge and a little bit of extra aggression, like how you mentioned before. But it still it stung a little bit because, and I mean, that effective storytelling by both those people. But I liked so much how he left after he got the mask. He left with dignity. He had her take his mask, even though she wasn't going to. And now for him to come back and be like, well, she really hurt me when she took that mask. She didn't have to. It's like, bro, you're the one that was like, take my mask. Like, so that part, storytelling wise, it felt weird. but I liked the match. Anytime I get to see Sexy Star, honestly, I know she's not necessarily the most popular luchadora anymore after the things that have happened later in her career, but I genuinely really liked her in Lucha Underground, so anytime I get to see her, it always brings a smile on my face.
And what brought a smile to my face was a little vignette we get with Drago once again practicing his nunchucks in preparation with his battle for Mil tonight, in which I do not believe he is allowed to use nunchucks. I don't know, but like I don't remember that part of this. I don't know. I think that I love some of the like when there's like just stupid little silly details. I just love picking at those because it's about presentation.
I agree, but I'm on the opposite side of it. Is I think in some ways where you pick on him, you're like, huh? I like to think of it as the weird zaniness of pro wrestling that kind of sometimes verges into, and doesn't really apply for this show because everything's shot before and decided on. It's scripted much more like a regular show than a wrestling show is. But those little bits just always seem so funny and improvisational to me that I really like. And I know it's not in this case, but that's kind of always the vibe that I get when it's like weird random bits that I'm just sort of left slightly baffled by, I guess I should say.
Well, I was like I said, you think they're going around there? It's like, what do we have? Nunchucks. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like that's totally the feel of a lot of them. It's like, you know what we should do? We should do this. It'll be funny. It's like, cool. Like I, as a person that likes the live theater side, where you can never tell. Sometimes things might go off the rails, and you're gonna have to, improv and adapt. But yeah, I like those little bits. They're weird and they're memorable.
Yeah. So let's get on with the next match. It's a 5-way for the special medallion that will grant a unique opportunity at Power. We still haven't gotten a lot of word about what those medallions do. I'm hoping by Ultima Lucha we find out, but it is Pentagon Jr. versus Cage versus Marty the Moth versus the Mack versus Aerostar. And at the beginning, Pentagon Jr. cuts a promo challenging Vampiro for interfering with the sacrifice to his master. And Vampiro and Pentagon actually do face off on the outside of the crowd, with the crowd heavily chanting for Vampiro. And Pentagon Jr., though, he decides to walk. He leaves the temple, so this match is now a fatal 4-way. Okay, just got a little easier to watch. And it starts out with big, beefy boys bumping beef with the Mack and Cage. And Cage also gets to show off his strength with how easily he's throwing Aerostar out of the ring. And Angie, I can see how you love Marty so much because he has this weird, undefinable charisma. Like, I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's just that he looks like he's enjoying what he's doing at every part. But
yeah, no, Marty is so adorable. I love him.
Yeah, and I'm jumping to the finish here because the finish confused me a little. This was one of those things where this was like Aerostar was just being extra because Marty the Moth is in the corner. Aerostar delivers a kick to him in that corner, walks off to an adjacent corner, gets on the second rope, tightrope walks all the way back to where he started, adding nothing extra, and just jumps and gives him a Rana, a springboard splash for the win. But it was just like that. All of that movement added nothing. It made it take more time for you to hit that finish, actually. So that threw me off a little. I mean, what was your thoughts watching this? Besides, Marty the Moth being awesome.
Besides Marty the Moth being awesome, I liked that sort of. I mean, the two big dudes, the Mack and Cage. Definitely, especially when I first watched this is definitely a match or a matchup between the two of them just singles matchup between the two of them was a very exciting prospect to me because of, who doesn't like a good hoss battle? They're two pretty decent hosses, and you look at their career trajectories today, even more exciting. But on the flip side too, besides me just loving Marty the Moth, I actually really liked how extra Aerostar was. We've kind of, okay, and far be it for me to judge little vignettes, but that goofiness of his like staring off into the cosmos that one time, like at the beginning of that episode, you remember
the Batman episode?
Yeah, the Batman episode. And that just has always been the overarching sort of like vision that stayed with me, at least this watch through. And getting to see a little bit more of him being flashy in ring rather than just being sort of spacey out of it. I don't know. I liked how that felt. It made him feel like more of a serious competitor to me. It was kind of goofy, but I guess this watch through my I don't know, perception of it was much more of like it's goofy, but I mean, like, look at how confident he is that he already put Marty the Moth down, that he ain't gonna get up and get away, that he takes this time to do it. It was an interesting sort of cocky show offy bit that I actually liked, which I usually don't. So I was very surprised by how that hit this time.
Yeah, well, we get a bit more whimsy as the Trios champions are seen training with Ivelisse, training in the back, and Ivelisse and Son of Havoc are running mitts, which I think is very cool. You're not boxing, you're wrestling, but you know what? Running mitts, it's a great workout. Angelico is doing something that once my shoulders are healed, I'm totally going to have to try this, where he's doing handstand push-ups using a TRX band to support his feet. Again, these little details, I'm like, oh, that is actually very cool. And I'm like, once my shoulder's not blown, I am going to totally try that in the gym. But suddenly, Angelico has to get off and try to play peacemaker because Son of Havoc and Ivelisse are at it again. Suddenly, Katrina teleports in and tells them that death will come for them all. And after she quite seductively threatens Ivelisse, she goes full Rita Repulsa, holding up the stone which glows, and suddenly, with cheesy lightning effects, she summons the Putty Patrol right behind them, and they beat down the Trios champions and leave them lying. And she walks out with a suddenly appeared Mil Muertes, who just walks off with her as the Trios champions are left lying in the back. And also the Putty Patrol's disappeared. So, man, what did you think of this? Because I'm like, man, they are just really going for it. I think the special effects cartoon lightning might have just been that icing on top.
Right? No, I feel very similar to how you do. And of course, I love Team Havoc as they're sometimes called, with Havoc, Ivelisse, and Angelico. I love the whole thing with Katrina and the whole Brujeria sort of vibe she has. So the combination of both, just so good. The battle of bad bitches with that little face off, even though it was a little sexier than brutal. And you were absolutely nailed it with the whole Rita Repulsa parallel, because that's perfect. It's so very much like, and I didn't realize it until you just said it now, but that's pretty much, I think, how I feel about Katrina, is that she's the main villain or the bad guy that I want to be. Like how I wanted to be Rita Repulsa when I was little. I liked Kimberly and all that, very much like how I like Sexy Star. And I wouldn't mind being Sexy Star, much like how I didn't mind being Kimberly as a kid, but I always really, really wanted to be the same way, where I really, really wish I could be like Katrina. So that was a perfect parallel. It really made me realize things about myself just now. So thank you.
No worries. Well, like I said, Drago was leaving. Where was he going? He was going to his match, which is up next. It is Drago versus Mil Muertes with Katrina. And let's just take a moment. I'm going to put it up here. Let's take a moment to just appreciate how badass Drago's entrance gear looks and is. It is awesome. It tells you everything you need to know about his character. It is perfection when it comes to gear. Now that that's done, Hernandez jumps Drago out of nowhere and beats him down with a leather belt, choking him before leaving a ring.
Heel shit.
Yeah, heel shit. We take a break, we come back, and Mil and Katrina come to the ring. There's a Mamacita chant for Katrina, and again, I'm curious. Like at the time this aired, I'd have to look and compare, like how much was known, because I don't think they have. Actually, I know they haven't seen all the stuff that's going on with the backstage segments at this point. But, there's a Mamacita chant for her. Mil has the early advantage on Drago, leaving no room for offense. Mil gives Drago an incredible spear as well. And I don't know that Drago has even landed more than one strike till now. He does endure. The match goes outside of the ring with Drago being thrown into the Believers, and I'm also realizing that chairs ringside aren't metal, they're made out of wood, which is infinitely worse to fall into. Drago also gets speared once again right into the side there. That was a cool looking spot. The crowd, by the way, is chanting for tables, that they want tables, and they do get one specifically. The commentary table, which does not break. So Drago gets pulled back into the ring, manages to dodge Mil in the corner, and he tries to and he hits a springboard DDT. He tries to land his Dragon's Lair pinning combination, but Mil Muertes rolls through and counters it, and is able to catch Drago in a single arm trap flatliner, which I think is a great modifier to make the flatliner look like a little more. And Mil gets the win, and we are back to Katrina delivering the lick of death. So now Mil will face Puma at Ultima Lucha to get the Lucha Underground title. And Prince Puma even arrives on the top of the staircase with Conan to face off with Mil. So how the show ends. Angie, what did you think of that match? And tell me what you thought of the show.
I really liked this match. From the first time I watched Lucha Underground, Mil Muertes was my favorite big guy. So getting to see him be a big guy in this match, always satisfying. And this match, especially now, watching it back again, knowing a little bit more what I know about Drago and Mil Muertes, I felt like I appreciated Drago a lot more. It's not like he gets in a whole lot of offense here, but he takes a hell of a lot of punishment until he finally gets put down, for lack of a better word. And this was definitely a lot more of the power game versus the toughness game, seeing who or how long, I guess you could say, Drago was going to be able to endure. Was he going to be able to hit enough moves to be able to put down Mil Muertes? And then, of course, the whole Hernandez thing in the beginning, automatically making Drago feel a lot more like an underdog, which is interesting because you don't necessarily consider a person, or you don't necessarily consider, I should say, a dragon to be an underdog. Dragon's more of the threat. So seeing all of those odds stacked against him, and then now knowing more of what happens later, it made me look back at this match a little bit more fondly, if that makes sense. And then, of course, and I had in my notes too, specifically it says, that modified flatliner though, like that, I thought looked really good to make it different, to make it feel more like Mil Muertes versus just a flatliner. You know what I mean? Especially because it's not like they've really been giving it a special name or been building it up quite as much as when other people use finishers. So to have that differentiation, I think helps make it feel more solidly his. But yeah, that whole thing, especially when, you know, he gets thrown on that commentary desk and it does not budge even a little bit, doesn't give. I just felt the life, the soul leave my body when he hit that. So props to both these guys. And then this episode as a whole, I really liked. You know, I liked all the people involved in the matches and the vignettes. You know, Marty the Moth, Penta, Sexy Star, Mil Muertes and Katrina, Angelico, Son of Havoc, and Evilise. You know, and even Hernandez, I felt he felt more like a bad guy to me right now, or like with that interference, than I've felt from him thus far in all Lucha Underground, and more than I've ever felt from him ever. You know, especially as a singles competitor, I felt that was a really good establishing heel shit moment, for lack of a better word, like how we were talking about before. And I thought it was effective. I liked it because it solidly put me against him, rather than just being like, I was more like, fuck that guy. So effective storytelling. I think more effective now, knowing what I know now, and especially years in the future, and getting to see all of these performers in different places after they finished their career in Lucha Underground. So definitely an effective episode and a lot of fun to watch.
For sure, and I also agree with a lot of that. Something I'm going to say here is, because they didn't do a lot of outside storytelling within this show, but that trios bit with Katrina just going like full on superpowers now, apparently. I'm very curious what's going on. I really want to see, and also like, is Lucha Putty Patrol, maybe they're gonna be the ones to go after the title? Who knows? But you know what, Angie? Let everybody know where they can find you.
All right, guys. I am part of 2 shows based out of Hawaii. The first one, Mid Card Mana, based on the Big Island, and we talk a little bit more about the current events, serious side of wrestling. We also do unboxing videos. The second one is Valley Out Collective Ringside, a little bit goofier. We roast each other. We talk about how GOD is the best tag team in the world, and anyone who thinks otherwise is wrong. And of course, you can find me on any and all social media, wrestling related anyway, as Fumiko Mega.
And you can find me here on YouTube at youtube.com/FriscoFlame. You can find this podcast on your favorite podcast app at Underground Lucha Things. You can find me on social media as Felix Finch or Frisco Flame, or even follow us at Lucha Things Show. And for the next couple weeks, just because, again, school's back, things are getting a little hectic. So there's only going to be 1 episode a week releasing, probably for the rest of the season, maybe until we get to Ultimo Lucha. We'll see. Still planning that out, just trying to get a little ahead of things here. So I'm sorry that it's gone down from 2 a week. I apologize. Believe me, things will get better once we get to season 2. But you know what? For Angie, for myself, peace out, party peoples. And we'll see you next time with more Underground Lucha Things.
Bang, bang.